The Game Shop has released the new FAQ about Age of Sigmar 4th edition Skaventide the 11 June 2025. It has released different type of FAQs. Remember that the most part of this are related about the releasing of the General Handbook 25-26, and remember that I'll treat some of these FAQs more in detail, so the General one, the points, and so on. But about the previous FAQs, you can find the link in the description because I'll not repeat everything that has been yet brought, so I'll only talk about the changes. The things that has been brought are related about the new war scroll for the spearhead, because has been released a new spearhead, and it's intriguing because first of all are really quite interesting to amplify your armies, because for example the Seraphon one it's perfect to combine with the previous one, and also the part about the Osprey Reapers, because that one it's amazing combined because it allows you to have one that it's the previous one that are the troops, and now we have the elites, so quite amazing one. And remember that anyway these are added to the previous one, so they are not going, at least for what the Jew said, to substitute them, but to add to them, so it's really quite interesting. Moreover, has been brought the update about the, I can say, Battletome that's not yet been released. So now we had the faction pack for the total skin, for the cities of Sigmar, the hedonists of Slaanesh, and so on. Remember that it's missing the part about the hedonists, because technically the hedonists are going to be released quite soon, so okay. And has been made also some other intriguing part. First of all, has been put a blank Path to Glory for Skull, that it's quite interesting for the ones that play with it, because I think that it's really quite intriguing. Then has been brought the Tournament Organizer pack, and we'll see anyway a bit better, but it's better I think that the one released for Warhammer 40k. Then has been brought the Battle Score summary that make you explain what has been changed, at least January 1, and I suggest you to read because at least you can know better about the Scourge of Ghyran that I talked about in the previous videos related about the facts, but it's explained really quite clearly, and so you can understand much better. Then has been made a really quite important change. Has been separated the part about the facts and the part about the battle profiles. So now the points are in a separate document, and I think that it's okay because the most part of the document were of the previous one that was combined of the points. So now you can really understand what it's the part about the rules, and if you need to see about the change for the points, you go there. And we go to see about that one that has seen a really massive change about the points in general, but also about moving the Beast of Chaos, the Beastman, from the classical one to the legends. So now technically are not more available for the tournaments, but have been brought back to the old world. So here you have to understand, sincerely, I still hoping that soon there is about a new Battletome or a new trademark or so on that has been related about the Beastmans, eventually with new miniatures, but we'll see anyway. So now let's start to see step by step about these new facts that's been brought, because I think that it's really quite a lot to talk about, and wow, really quite a messy, small changes, but a lot of changes. So let's start. And I want to start with the Tournament Organizer Pack 25-26, because I find it really quite interesting, better than the one related about the Warhammer 40k. And it allows you to understand how to organize a tournament, even if you never organize it. So I think that it's really quite intriguing. Moreover, it allows you to understand, for example, the part about the number of rounds that you can play with 1, 2, or 3 days. Okay, it's unusual, at least in my country, to have more than 1 or maximum 2 days, but still it's interesting. And the part about the division for the time of a battle round for each player. So it's really quite nice, even if I'm always quite not satisfied by this, because it happens quite often that the first rounds battle rounds are the ones that require more time, and then it's faster and faster to do. So it's something that it should be indication more than absolute part, but not bad. Then there is the part about pairing the players and so on, the awards. It's really quite nice to see how it suggests different type of things, because it allows you to understand how much difficulties there are for the ones that organize to pay attention to a lot of little details. So not bad. Okay, the part about the foods, the tickets, the recording records, the judges, okay, it's something that you should be used for. Otherwise, if it's maybe the first time that you are going to a tournament, it's a way to understand a bit better about. Also the part about spare players, the trooped players, it's really quite nice to understand what you can gain. And also here we have a schedule about how to compile. So it's quite nice. I quite like such type of things because it's really quite a sort of summary and the way that you could use eventually to create something that you can compile then to verify your ideas. So not bad at all. So this it's maybe quite simple, but something that you could even for curiosity give a sight because it's in a way it's intriguing. Okay. And then we had the battle school summary. Here, technically, it could be called a sort of repetition of the introduction, but there are more information about. So, in the part about the Kulus and Jana Handbook, we can find the regimental forces. So, if one player has more regiment than their opponent at the start of the battle, then once per battle, that player can reroll their priority roll after seeing the result of both players' rolls, but before determining priority for that battle round. It's really quite an important change. Then we had the split, as I said, of the battle profiles and rules updates into two different documents. Here, as I said, I think that it's really quite worth. Then we had the added a free tournament organizer pack download. Okay, we've seen right before. And then the added season variant for the Scourge of Ghyran faction rules and war scores. So here it's really quite interesting. And you have to remember that you'll find the part about the points directly in the document of the battle profiles. So you don't have to go to search for the various Warhammer community articles that had the various ones of the points. So nice. And remember that there is a section in the part about the faction download that it's only about the Scourge of Ghyran, so that you can find the rules related about your faction. So pay attention about such details. About the battle profiles, a limited number of dominant enhancement choices, faction terrain feature, and spell lores and manifestation lore now cost points. Here, I admit, it upset me a bit, but seeing what has been changed about the points for a lot of various units, sincerely you can resolve it really quite easily and even save even more points. So not a problem. It's quite rare that you have to say, okay, now I'm really a pity because I can play what I wanted because there is that increase on point. Anyway, there are really few amount that has seen such thing. Then there is the point reduction for nearly every faction, but even if say not hero, monsters, war machines, including chariots, the wizard priest infantry, non-wizard priest infantry, and the cavalry heroes. The problem is that, for example, the Son of Behemoth doesn't receive any different points, so are exactly the same. It's funny about this. And then there is the updated regiment option on several Warhammer Legend units. And here it's quite intriguing because there has been quite a lot of them that has received. It's one of the massive update for the Legend parts. Remember that now it received also the Beast of Chaos. Pay attention about this. And then there is the part about the Spearhead, because there have been some updated about them that we see and we see anyway in the documents. But the most important thing about this part of this PDF is the part about the using the Scourge of Ghyran rules. Because there are alternative rules for certain units, for example, or they give you new type of, for example, enhancement, for example, lores or traits, or really quite a lot of different things, different for every army, and it's really quite intriguing. Remember that you can play with different combination about artifacts by heroic trait, but if you are going to apply the new type of unit for an army, you have that all units of that type, if you apply one Scourge of Ghyran one, will be that one. So you can't mix normal one and Scourge of Ghyran. Only all Scourge of Ghyran or all normal one. So pay attention. There is also some really quite intriguing part about the Scourge of Ghyran and Rules of Renown. So the Army of Renown can include the units one with the same type. So if they can include the normal one, they can include the Scourge of Ghyran way. But remember that the army, the part of the regiment of renown instead, cannot include the Scourge of Ghyran unit. So little changes, little things, but they are really quite interesting. Then about the Scourge of Ghyran faction rules and so on, so you can really read and understand better, because here you have really to understand how you want to combine. Still, it's really quite intriguing, because you can pick, for example, battle formation, or you can include part about the heroic traits and so on, without having to have all of them if you decide. So it's quite nice. This, I think, that give you quite a lot of freedom, and I hope that in the future will be done something like this also for eventually the other plans. Because think about being able to play with, for example, an army related to Shaiish instead of Ghyran, with units that gain certain rules, certain modifying. They change also the point, but it's not a problem, because you can really personalize much better. It's a way to have your standard Battletome, and then something that can be updated freely to change a bit of the mechanic and still be updated. Not bad, not to do quite often, but it can be really quite an option to develop, so it's not bad. And then now we have the rules update. Here remember that I'll treat only about the new things that has been brought. If interested about the previous ones, the link in the description. And the part about the battle profiles, it's in the separate document that we see quite soon. So let's start to see, and we can find that about the core rules has not been seen any change, other than a little one that it's about a FAQ too. So it's about the territories. So if a rule requires that a unit to be outside of a friendly territory or wholly outside of friendly territory, would a unit that is not on the battlefield, for example, a destroyed unit or a unit in a cell count, obviously say no, because you are not anyway on the battlefield, so you should not anyway count. Moreover, if you are a destroyed unit, so okay, sincerely I don't want to know who thought about the destroyed one. Okay. And then we can see that nothing else has been changed, but remember that has been updated a lot of yours thinking about the General Handbook 2526. So remember about that one, because there's been new ways to gain points for the mission, new missions, new options, and so on. So it's something that you want to know about eventually. And then we can find that the first thing that we can find that has been changed, it's about the spearhead. And so we can find something that has been changed for the Cardon, but I'm most interested about the City of Sigmar, because with the Castellite company we've seen a change for both unit that now it's split, so instead of 1 unit of 10 we have 2 unit of 5, but moreover about the reinforcement keyword that has been added to a cavalry, because it means that you can develop a unit. So not bad if you think that they should be like that. Okay, it's quite intriguing. Then we have something related about the Hedonite of Lanesh, the Disciple of Tzeentch, the Total of Cain, so something that we've seen that has been corrected, but not bad things. We have still something related about the General Handbook 2425, because they're still playable. So here we have the part about the missions and so on that could be used, and so it's not bad, because anyway the battlefields are still usable to play. And then we can find the part about the Channel Handbook 2526. Here, okay, it's make that the new season rules that you have to follow are the 2526. The part about the regiment forces that we see before, so the one that you can reroll, about see if you have more regiment than their opponents and start. So the battle you can see the result and eventually reroll one of the result. There are some errata. Sincerely, here I always not quite like, because these are something that should be made correct from the beginning. So are errata that it's a problem about the writing. Okay, but still you can see about that one. Okay, about the frequently asked question here, can I complete the same battle tactic multiple times in a battle? No, unless specified otherwise. I think that it should be the base. Okay. Then we can find about the faction pack. Here, for the most part, are exactly the same. We have seen something new for Chaos Fate Weaver. One of the reasons because we've seen the update of the faction part. Then the part again here for the most part it's the same. As you can see, we have really to go to see about, for example, we have again something related about the current overlord with something that is related to update. We have seen also in the summary that was related. And really few things has been changed, so nothing to think about that could be problematic and so on. Really, it's quite intriguing because we can find that it's quite stable. So here we have some facts for the blades of corn, for example, or we can find something else for the Sylvanet. So you have to go to see which one are the ones that you are interested about, because maybe there are really some little changes that could be interested or not. So little things, but really okay. I quite like that the most of the always updated part are the same. Okay, there is about the Orux and again update, but it's about the spearhead, so at least this time there should be calm about updating. And really, it's quite intriguing because it shows that it's almost the same, so nothing to think about. Okay, there is something about the Archon Ever Chosen that has been updated, but there are small things, so it's something that you have to notice, take note, but nothing that okay it's really something that completely changed and so on. The most that it's changing, it's the part about the points. And what I like most is that if you go to see about the pages that are for these facts are 42 pages, but here are all if you include also the Battletome, the various factions and so on. So the real facts are really quite few. So it means that the game is really quite stable, and I quite appreciate such thing. So now let's go to see about the battle profiles. And now we can start with the battle profiles. We see a lot of changes, so I try to make it short for each of the armies. We can start with the cities of Sigmar. We can find here a lot of units that seen a decrease on point. Some of 20, some of 30 points, for example, for the Field Guard Marshal on Griffon and the Steam Tank Commander. Remember that you have also the Scourge of Ghyran. If it's about the charters, it's not a problem because you have only to choose based on the rules the one that you prefer. And you can also have that sometimes the Scourge of Ghyran costs less, sometimes more, sometimes it's equal. So you have to see which one you prefer. But remember that if you go to see about other options, for example, for the Frigald Cavalier, here you have to understand if you prefer the one that it's about the rules for the Frigald Cavalier Scourge of Ghyran or the normal one, because all the unit will be have the normal or the Scourge of Ghyran part. So you have to pay a bit of attention about such a test. So okay, you have to make attention. And we can find here the part that I'm quite interested about, and it will change for every army. So the part about the battle formation, the heroic trait, the part about the artifact power, the spell lord, the player lord, but also the faction tenants. Remember about that one, also that the manifestation. But we can find also the source. So for example, the faction pack for the City of Sigmar, the Scourge of Ghyran, or other publications. So it's really quite interesting about this. Here we can save only points based on what it's the part about our rooster. Then we can go to see about the Dotus game that see the part about the Hakim on Cardom of Blood that see 20 points less. And again, something that it's about the Avatar of Cain. So okay, I think that it's much better now. And the Sister of Slaughter with the Sacrificial Knives and the Witch Elves with Blade Bucklers of okay, not bad. And also here that there are not any change on points, but remember that we're not so often like this. We have then the first race that see quite a lot of units that see a decrease on point, so some of 20, some of 10, but we can see also some that increase on point. So here remember that you have to pay attention because we have, for example, the heroic trait Ashbeard and the article power Ash Cloud Rune that see an increase on point of 20. So we can absorb eventually, but not so sure. So depend by what we are going to use. Still, you could say that it's quite balanced. So if you are going to play with these two things, you could have been stable. Otherwise, you can even be that you can save points. So not bad. Then we had the I don't need keeping. Here I can think that it's a sort of anticipation what we see with the new Battletome that it's going to be released soon. Okay. So here you have to pay a bit of attention. And we can find anyway that here we have some increase on point for two things. So the heroic trait, Ancient Pride, and the Artifact of Power, that is Armor of Sitai. So here we're seeing that there is not so much change. So eventually you could even risking to be bypass what you made before, so you have to pay a bit of attention. Then about the current overlord. Here have tons of units that see a decrease on point, 10, 20 points, but even 40 points for the Arcanaut Ironclad. So eventually you can save quite a lot of points. And you have only a problem eventually if you had the right trait Canny Fleetmaster, but as we see, it's quite easy that you can absorb it. So I don't think that it will be such problematic for these ones. About the Luminate Realm Lord, we can find units that see a decrease on point, but there are not too many. And instead we have two units, or better, two options that see an increase on points. So the Silver Wand Artifact Power and the Faction Terrain, that is the Shine Luminor. As I said, this is something that I'm not quite satisfied with, because at least the Terrain faction, the ones that you are going to have, because they are integrated part of your army, they should not have point added, because they are really something that it's part of your army, and not paying for them could be risking that you lose part of your rules. So it's not really quite comfortable for me to see such things. At the same time, it's like having a sort of tax. So if you had or you must buy, okay, you have, and you know that you have to adjust everything else to have at least the faction terrain, if it's something that you use quite a lot. Then about the Seraphon, here we have few points that has been decreased, so the Reproductive Sheaf and the Pterodon Sheaf. And okay, but sincerely, we have also the Spawn Chotic that okay, nice, because it's much better now. Moreover, because now it's part of a Spearhead, so it will be easier to buy it cheaper, and so have them. And then we can find anyway free about the 20 points for the options. So for that power, the Code Familia, the Spell Lord, Lord of Celestial Manipulation, and the Faction Terror, the Realm Shape Engine. Here it's problematic because the Lord of Celestial Manipulation, it's one of the basic ones that usually it's taken, or if you have a Slan. And the Realm Shape Engine, it's quite inside the rules for the Seraphon, so you don't save quite a lot and you risk to spend more. Problematic about, I know that it's balancing, but at the same time it doesn't suit me quite good, in my opinion. Then we can find about the Stomach Satanas. Here we have a lot of units that see from small to a bigger decrease on points, so 10, 20 points without any problem. And okay, it's really quite interesting because you can really reabsorb eventually everything without any problem. But you have only two options that have seen increase on points. So the Rock Trait, the Envoy, the Event, and the Faction Terror Storm Reach Portal. So I don't think that you have problem to absorb them, but still you have to pay a bit of attention. Then we have about the Sivan that see really few decrease on point of 10 points each. Okay. And instead about the increase here, it's problematic because we have two things that could be really quite important that see increase on points. So the Artifact of Power, Seed of Rebirth, and the Rogue Trait, Spell Singer. You have to pay quite a lot of attention about such thing eventually. Then about the Blades of Corn that see a lot of units that see a decrease on point that usually are used, so not bad in my opinion. And also about the troops, you can have something that can make you save, so quite good, but at least you don't have any increase, so you can only save points, so quite good. You can eventually have a combination that make you include another unit eventually. Then we have about the Disciple of Cinch that see a lot of units that see a decrease on points, so not bad at all in my opinion. And okay, you can save quite a lot because in a way, for example, the Burning Chariot of Cinch could make you that you can absorb a lot. But you had also to see about the increase of point because you have three things. So the Heroic Trait Illusionist, the Artifact of Power 9-Eyed Tomb, and these are of 20 points. But we see the first that it's more than 20 points, it's 30 points for the Spell Lord of Change. So I don't think that you have problem to absorb, but at the same time, it's problematic if you add all of them because you have to pay attention about your combination for the rooster. Then about the Hedonite of Slaanesh, here we have quite a lot of decrease and even quite heavy, because, for example, the Blebinger, Heart of a Static Chariot, it's 30 points less. Even Sigvard, Prince of Solange, 40 points less, and tons of them with 20, so okay, not bad. And we have also something that, for example, the Flyers, it's 30 points less. Okay, not bad. And at the same time, we have a single increase on point that it's about the Artifact Power, Pen of Strange, so it's easy to add this absorbed without any much trouble. So had to verify about everything. Then about the Magotin of Nargo. Again, a lot of units that see a decrease on point, so it will be easy to absorb everything. And the problem is that it's only one, so that it's about the with stave artifact power increase in points, so you could quite easily save this amount. It's not quite problematic. Then the part about the Skaven, here we have tons of units that see a decrease on point, 10, 20 points, even 30 points with Lord Screech Barminking. Okay. And here the change, it's about the plug pack that cannot be reinforced. Okay, understandable, sincerely. Again, other units that see a decrease on point, other than something that it's not useful, because a lot of units that are here are something that is common. For example, the Rat Ogres, the Stone Fiends, the Warp Grinden, the Warp Lacking Cannon. So, okay, quite savvy. And nothing that it's increased, so you could eventually save a lot of points to add something else. Then we had the Slay to Darkness. Again, here a lot of units that see a decrease on point, even 30 points. So, for example, with the Centurion Marshal, if you play it, become really quite interesting. A decrease on point also for Archon. Sincerely, I don't like to play with such sort of gods on the battlefield, but okay. And again, a lot of units that can save you quite a lot, so not bad. And here we can find that, as you can see, there is a single increase on point, so it's quite easy to absorb it. You have a lot of choices about. It's about the heroic trait Hands of Dark Glory. Okay, consider it eventually a sort of tax to pay. Also about the Flesh Eater Curse, we can find a lot of units that see a decrease on point. Okay, the Crypt Infernal Courtier become really quite interesting at 120 points with 20 points less. The Royal Decapitator, it become really quite intriguing, because for 80 points, it's something that if you need to create another regiment, have another hero, you could add it without any problem. Also, the Werewolf Courtier, a decrease on point that it's interesting. In my opinion, could be also 10 points less eventually, but I'm quite glad. The Creepy Friars, 10 points less. What I'm most interested about is the Royal Tarragest and the Royal Zombie Dragon. Here, 20 points each less, not bad at all. We are every time see that these two models see a increase on point and then falling back. So I think that soon we'll reach for the 200 points again. That I think it's their worth. And then here we can find two units that, or better, two things that has been added points. So the part about the Cruel Taskmaster, heroic trait, and the Channeled Vestments, artifact power. Sincerely here, I think that the Cruel Taskmaster will be quite easily absorbed from other decrease on point. Still, you have to pay attention, because you have to see what you can eventually combine. Still, I think that could be absorbed quite easily if you need them. Then you can find about the Night Hunt. Here, remember that soon, or better, sometime, but soon there will be the new Battletome about, so we see eventually a refreshing about everything. And also here we can say quite a lot, and really quite a lot, because we can see that some, for example, the Knight of Shroud on Eternal Steel, it's 20 points, but okay, Nagash 40 points, but I'm more interested about this Cryptor Mortis, 40 points less, 80 points worth, so it's really quite nice. The Tombashi, here, sincerely, the Tombashi could be even less. Okay, not maybe as the Cryptor Mortis, but I can say at 30 points could be decreased. Then we had the Chingast and the Chim Rasputin, 10 points less each, and I think this it's quite interesting, because are really quite common units to play, so quite welcome, in my opinion. And here we can find instead 20 point increase. Okay, so the Rogue Trait, Ruler of the Spectral Host, and the Artifact Power, like Shard of the Harvest Moon. Okay, I think that you can absorb quite easily these ones, even can save something, so it's not something that it's problematic. There you can find about the Ossebo Reapers. Here I'm really quite satisfied because the Lich Gravelords 30 points less, I'm really satisfied. Even 10 points less more could be better, but okay. Mortisan sur Mason 10 points less, welcome. I think other 10 points less will be perfect. The Mortisan sur Reaper 90 points, okay, again we fallen back under the 100 point as usual. Nagash 20 points less, okay. Vokmortian 20 points less, okay, welcome, but not something quite intriguing. It's to say it's the only model that I'm missing of the Ossebo Reaper now. Then we had the Gods of Vest 20 points less, welcome. I play tons of them, so for me it's really quite welcome. The Mortis card 20 points less, okay, nice. Morgenstern Guy and Arbinges 10 points less each, okay. I think that maybe other 10 points for each of these could be decreased without any problem, but nice. And Necropolis Stalker 10 points less, nice, okay, so it's really quite intriguing. It's still to decide if you want to play with the Mortis card or the Necropolis Stalker, but not bad at all. And nothing added. I'm quite glad because I'm really quite interested about the parts for the part of the Scourge of Ghyran option. So moreover about the battle formation, I'm really quite interested. And I'm quite satisfied that the faction terror hasn't had any engagement point. So not bad at all. And I'm quite glad that also the spell lore of Necrotargy, okay, Necrotargy, it's but from the Scourge of Ghyran has not seen an engagement point because I'm really quite inclined to play with that one. Then we could go to see about the Soulblight Gravelords that, okay, has seen a little renewed about the points. So the Blades of the Hollow King see a decrease point of 20. Not bad, it's much better in my opinion under 300 points. Then Ledianica and Prince War Dry a decrease point. Ledianica, sincerely, I think that it should cost 100 points to be really something that you could consider about. And Prince War Dry, I think that tons of players would be happy because would be in that range that would make more useful to add something else combined to more about the Crimson Keep version. Then the Vampire Lord on Nightmare Steed 20 points less, welcome. It was something that would be needed, even if sincerely I don't think that the Vampire Lord on Nightmare Steed is worth less than the Waking on the Skeleton Steed. So okay, but I would like also the Waking something less. Okay, it would be better in my opinion. And we can find also a decrease point for the Revenant Draconid and the Terrorgest, as we've seen for the counterpart of the Fish Eater Curse. But about the Revenant Dragonid, I think that it's quite worth because it's quite crazy as option, so quite welcome. And we can find that here, and it's a new Battletome, the Lash of Sire, that it's a rogue trait, see an increase point on 20 points. It's good as a rogue trait, but it's not something that it's a must, so you can absorb it really quite easily. It's not a problem. It's really quite easy, even only playing the Vampire Lord on the Steed. It's like you had the pair. Okay, not bad. Then how about the Glue Spike Kits that see again lot of decrease on point, 20 points for the Mast, even 30 points for the Lubos on the Mangler Squeaks. So okay. Again, add a lot of units that see 10 or the mass part 20 point decrease, so you can save quite a lot of points. And two that are the Heroic Trait, the Untouched 20 points, and the Artifact Power, the Coming Crew at the 20 points. That sincerely I think that it could be absorbed quite easily, seeing how many units see a decrease point and save quite a lot, so much that you can add other units too, so it's okay, understandable. The Iron Jaw see a lot of units decrease on point too. Not much to choose, okay, but anyway, quite a lot of saving. And nothing added, so you can really save quite a lot to add eventually something else, maybe to combine with other options. So not bad at all. Then we have about the Cool Boys. So we have again here a lot of units with decrease on point, quite a lot, and some important ones even of 30 points, for example for the killables on Corpse Reaper Vulca, that it's not bad at all. And again, other units that see a decrease on point that are some of the main ones that you are going to play without any added points. So it's quite intriguing because it means that you can even add some reinforcement, add other units, so quite nice. Then we have about the Ogre Mob Trials that see also, again, a lot of units with decrease on point. Not maybe the melee ones, but still could be quite nice because, for example, the Iron Blasters and the Lich Belchers are some of the most used, so not a problem. And here instead we can find increase on point, but at least of one single thing, that it's the Rocket Touch, but the every winter that it's 20 point more that you can absorb without any problems, so it's not something to worry about. The Sons of Behemoth, as I said before, it's as it before, so nothing changed, nothing gained and nothing changed. Then we have about the manifestation, the universal manifestation lords that see a lot of them that see an increase on points. So the Conspine Incarnate, 20 points. Here, sincerely, you could have increased even 40 points. And I do not criticize this thing. The Forbidden Power, 20 points, okay. The Morbid Conjuration, 30 points, maybe too much, because maybe should be the Conspire more, okay. And the Primal Energy, 20 points. So, okay, not bad at all. Then we go to see about the Regiment of Renown, and we can find that are technically almost all the same, so not a problem. And then we have the Warhammer Legends. Here, one thing to notice, we have to see for each of these step by step, but we can find something that has changed for the profiles. So the points, for example, for Gravian Surhurt, for the Canine Venator. So if you want still to play them, you have tons of things to analyze eventually to be able to play and still saving points, so not bad. But remember also that here we have the Beast of Chaos. So the Beast of Chaos now are legend. You can still play with them, but not in the official tournament. And remember that now they are technically moved to be in Old World. At the same time, remember that you can still play them. And I hope that in the future there will be anyway at least a new copyright with a new faction and so on, with new models, because they are a really important part about the background. So I hope not to lose them, because it will be really quite a pity about. And also here we can find tons of units that see change in some way or decrease on point. So also the Headwinds of Slaanesh for the Bloodbringer and so on. Okay, quite a lot of change of points, because the Bloodbringer even 60 points less, not few. Also the Exalted Chariot, it's 50 points. So okay, there's been quite a lot of changes here. And if fantastic, here you have to see which one you prefer, because if you want to play, you have to search for the ones that you play with. Anyway, there are quite a lot of changes, as you see. Small ones, but important. Remember, anyway, that here are the points, but with the General Handbook 25-26, there will be the option about added new things, artifacts, or so on, that could be added, and so you can spend other points about, so change again your rooster. I think that it's quite intriguing. I repeat, I love the changes, other than the part about the faction talents, because those ones, I think that they should be the real part of the army, so I don't think that it's really quite correct to make them pay. Okay, sincerely, it's not technically a problem, because the main part of the armies that I play with are not interested about, other than the Seraphon, that in a way I can, without any problem, absorb them. Still, I don't think that it's okay, quite good. At the same time, it's something that I want to try, because it's really quite interesting. So what do you think about such facts, or more than facts about the Scourge of Ghyran and the battle profiles, because they are the two main things that I think that you should take note about. Sincerely, I quite appreciate both of them. The Scourge of Ghyran give me quite a lot of variability, and I quite like, because I can really personalize even more my booster, so I'm perfectly glad about this. About the part of the battle profile, sincerely, for the most part, my armies has only gained something, so not a problem. Not complete about the Seraphon, because it's problematic. Okay, I still have no problem to get the roosters, but it's a way to notice how much can be the impact of giving points to traits and so on. I know that it's an old practice that come back, but still not so glad about it. Moreover, about the shiny future, because the shiny future should be something that is completely part of the army. So I'm not glad to see them to pay. Okay, it's something that I'm not quite appreciating. Still, I think that could be quite intriguing to see a developing of the Scourge of Ghyran and eventually something like the Handbook 25-26 in the future that can adapt and change these little things so that can change your approach to the rooster and eventually get more difference about what you can take. So I think it has potential. Okay, I'm still having to adapt completely to such things, but I'm quite curious to know about your opinion because I think that it has a lot to discuss about and it could be quite intriguing. I still prefer than everything related about Warhammer 40k, how its management and so on. I think that here it's much better, more clear and really easier. Less fun to take notice, less rules that are being completely changed, and you can play without any problem. Remember eventually to buy the General Book 25-26 to have the new rules about that could be really quite intriguing and the battle plans that you can expand your way to play eventually. So it's quite nice in my opinion. I'm quite curious about your opinion anyway. So from deynonmod it's everything. I invite you to subscribe to the channel, to ring the bell so to receive notification about new video, to comment under here about this video, or if you want to suggest me new videos. So I hope to see you again to the next time.